Update. Am I the a-hole for being mad at my wife saying breaking up with her ex is one of her biggest regrets? Original post. The other day, my wife was catching up with a friend who started dating someone new. As it turns out, the guy is my wife's ex. That already made me a little uneasy, but I kept quiet. Then her friend mentioned she was having some doubts about him, and right there my wife says, "He is the sweetest and most wonderful guy. Breaking up with him is one of my biggest regrets." I literally said, "Excuse me?" out loud. It just came out. She looked at me confused, like she didn't get what the problem was. I gave her a moment to process what she just said, and when she didn't, I told her, "Never mind," and let her finish the conversation. Her friend left shortly after. We talked later, and she said she didn't really mean it, that she just got caught up in the moment. But honestly, it didn't make me feel any better. I've been distant ever since. I feel angry, but mostly I just feel hurt, unloved, disrespected. How am I supposed to hear my wife call another man the sweetest and most wonderful guy and say she regrets breaking up with him and not feel crushed by that? She's frustrated with me now, saying I'm dragging this out and making it bigger than it needs to be. She says she's sick of talking about it, but she still hasn't apologized. She keeps insisting I misunderstood, that it's not what she meant. I don't want to get divorced over this. We've agreed to go to counseling because I at least want to try to fix this. But the truth is, I've never felt this lonely in our marriage. I look at her and feel like a stranger. I just want to know, am I the a-hole for not being able to let this go? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Bruh, she can still have fond memories about her ex, but she's with you, so don't trip, my dude. There's a huge difference between having fond memories and considering her breakup to be one of her biggest mistakes. If she never made that mistake, we'd never be together. Seriously, it's one thing to say he was the sweetest and nicest guy and would make someone extremely happy, but we just didn't click and wouldn't have worked out long term, and what she said. That's like reminiscing about your younger days in front of your kids and saying, "Damn, life would be so much more fun if I never had kids." I bet her friend felt same way as you. Like you, realized exactly what that meant and what it implies if your wife is around her boyfriend going forward. Probably why the friend left shortly afterwards. That's what made it even worse. Her friend caught on right away. I saw the look on her face when she turned to look at me. Even she understood what my wife said before my wife. Yeah, I wouldn't let that go. You deserve an answer. Her friend kind of deserves an answer too, to decide if she can even keep her around anymore. I don't think your wife has a good explanation, and I'd keep pressing her for an answer before she has time to come up with an obvious lie. I'd be asking her if you need to go to marriage counseling to sort this out, or if you need to break out the old Crayolas and draw her a picture to show just how big of a screw-up she made. There's clearly an answer, a long and involved one, that she owes you, and she's probably scared crapless to give it. I'm sure her friend isn't going to let her anywhere near her or her boyfriend right now either. That is one of the dumbest statements you could ever make to your spouse and expect to sweep under the rug. That's up there with, "Let's have an open relationship," or "He's only a friend, but I screwed up," and "You don't need intimacy in a marriage because I say, not we say, we are too old and done." I'd be sleeping on the couch for the foreseeable future until my spouse actually apologizes and explains to me in great detail what they meant. Good luck. Now for the update 3 months later. We are separated now. We have been having trouble finding a counselor that we are both comfortable with, and fights have happened more often. I gave up on my marriage when she said that her ex probably wouldn't be such a whiny baby, and that she was right in regretting breaking up with him. I think she realized what she said, and she tried to take it back. She said, No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I was already halfway done with this marriage. After hearing that, I don't think we can come back from this. I'm speaking to a divorce lawyer. I feel terrible. I feel like an idiot. I feel so alone right now. I just don't know how to feel. Honestly, posting this helps a bit. Helps gets my thoughts together. Listen to your lawyer. Focus on finding a counselor for yourself. If you can, try to get away for just a weekend without her. Good luck. agree on all points. I would just add, dude, you're not alone. You're free. Do all the stuff you gave up for your marriage. All the things she didn't like, but you do. All the food she didn't like, but you do. All the music she didn't like, but you do. All the places and people she didn't like, but you do. Now is the time to put yourself first in everything. In her own words, she never knows when she's onto a good thing, so she's going to be the one regretting this when it all shakes out. You are, quite frankly, too good for her. She keeps saying awful things, and then that she doesn't mean it like that? What does she mean then exactly? She means the things she says, but only if she doesn't face the consequences. I hope OP finds someone better. He doesn't deserve to be second best in his wife's heart. Your soon-to-be ex is a special kind of stupid. She said something that kills most marriages and had plenty of time to think about what she said, then went ahead and doubled down. That is a special kind of stupid. I think she enjoys hurting you. Good luck in your divorce. You will thrive in the years to come. There are more women out there. Other women are the last thing in my mind right now. Next story. Am I the a-hole for threatening to ban my mother from my wedding and meeting her grandchild if she doesn't cut off my ex-girlfriend? I, 28 male, am marrying my fiancée Maddie, 24 female, this November, and we're expecting our first son in February. Prior to my current partner, I dated my ex-girlfriend Adriana, 29 female, for 5 years. Things did not end well with that relationship. She was upset that I was taking too long to marry her and that I wanted to make a career change after realizing I hated my career in human resources. 2.5 years ago, she broke up with me, despite me telling her that I was close to proposing. I just wanted to finish school for my new career in healthcare first. It tore me up for a long time, especially since during our relationship, she became very close to my family, particularly my mom. That meant I couldn't even get away from her at some family events. 2 years ago, I met Maddie at a work function, and we hit it off immediately. We moved in together within 6 months. I proposed within a year after achieving the career path I wanted, and a couple of months ago, we found out she was pregnant. I couldn't be happier with how things have turned out for me. Adriana, upon learning how fast things moved with Maddie, went ballistic. She called me and said I was a piece of crap who used her and led her on, and she said many vile things to me. She started saying awful things about me to any mutuals who would listen, and even began leaving negative reviews at the hospital where I work, naming me directly. Those eventually got taken down, but it was incredibly embarrassing. I spoke with a lawyer to see what my options were, but he said I didn't have many. Last week, after having dealt with this for a while, I ran into her at my mom's birthday party. At the party, she accidentally spilled a drink on my fiancé, and during a speech about my mother, she sniped at me by saying, "I love this wonderful woman, and I'm glad she gave birth to 3 wonderful children," while glaring at me. My mom had 4 kids. When she left, she also accidentally dinged my car with her driver's side door. After she left, I sat down with my mother and said that Adriana was making my life harder for no reason. I listed everything mentioned above and asked her not to invite Adriana to events anymore. She pushed back, saying Adriana had been a decent friend to her and that she liked Adriana's mother, so it would be difficult to cut her off. I said I understood that, but as her son, I was asking her to support me when someone is mistreating me. She said we'd talk about it further. Yesterday, I found out Adriana was coming to my youngest brother's track tournament. I called my mom and asked her to uninvite Adriana. She said she couldn't. I said, "Let me make this more clear for you then. If you are saying yes to her, you are saying no to me. If you decide to support her in this, you can consider yourself uninvited from my wedding and not a part of the family I am building. You can also say goodbye to meeting your first grandchild." She called me mean and cold. I said I was serious about this. The fallout from this has been more than I expected. Adriana went nuts when my mom cut her off, and a bunch of mutuals are saying I'm a massive a-hole for destroying the relationship between my mom and Adriana. My mom is pretty upset with me, but I know she'll eventually come around. My fiancé is happy that I'm standing up for her and for us. My question is, did I go too far? Am I the a-hole for threatening to cut off my mom if she didn't cut off Adriana? Edit. I'd like to clarify the timeline with Adriana. 2.5 years ago, she dumped me. About 6 months later, I started dating Maddie. 6 months in, we moved in together. And another 6 months later, I proposed because I knew she was the one for me and we were stable. I never led Adriana on. At the beginning of our relationship, I felt I was too young to get married, and toward the end, I didn't want to marry until I had broken into the career I wanted. The reason I felt comfortable proposing to Maddie quickly was because I had achieved career stability. Had I met Maddie 5 years ago, I would not have proposed due to my circumstances at the time. I feel I've done nothing wrong in ensuring I was stable and ready for marriage before proposing to someone, and Adriana breaking up with me when I was on the cusp of achieving that is on her. Now for the top comments. Dude, not the a-hole. Who your mom chills with is her business, but when it starts messing with your life, lines gotta be drawn. Adriana sounds like she's running the Psycho X playbook page by page. Mom's gotta choose. It ain't about destroying a relationship. It's about protecting your family. She'll come around. Good on you for standing up for your lady and your kiddo. Keep that up, bro. Exactly. Mom could have still met up with Adriana outside of family events, as she's no longer family. I don't take my friends to family events either. Gosh, that'd be awkward if everyone did that. Also, she spilled a drink over a pregnant woman. What's next? Making her trip? Shoving her down the stairs? Yeah, that's what I don't get. You want to keep a relationship with this girl? Fine. Get your mani-pedis. See each other for lunch. That's whatever. There's no reason for her to be coming to holidays and birthday parties, etc., especially if she's causing issues for your son. It's weird. Your mom and Adriana are idiots. Let them be together and uninvite them from your wedding. If this keeps going, then go no contact. My mom cut off Adriana begrudgingly, so I won't cut her off. I love my mom, and without her, I wouldn't have access to see my youngest brother who I love to death. I'd get a dash cam for my car that can record when the car is turned off. They have to be wired into the dash, but have controls so they don't drain your battery. Then you can catch her damaging your car and call the police. Sooner or later, you will likely have some type of problem with the ex that will require police involvement. You need a camera on the front of your home, and if it's a house, you need a camera showing each side of it. You need proof for the police. Don't hesitate to call them when she acts out against you or your wife. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my cheating ex-husband I will never feel bad for him and I will never help him make this better? I, 46 female, was married to my ex-husband John, 48 male, for a decade when I found out he had cheated multiple times with multiple women, one of whom became a fully fledged affair. We had 3 young kids at the time. I found out because I started suffering from some concerning symptoms, went to the doctor, and after some tests, it was discovered I had gonorrhea, which had caused pelvic inflammatory disease. The whole thing was devastating, and John didn't even pretend to be concerned about me. He was more concerned about his affair partner, Kathy. The two of them married after the divorce, and I had to pick up the pieces, deal with the consequences of John's cheating and his lasting gift, and help my kids deal with the divorce, all while having to be civil in front of the kids, which killed me. I had minimal contact with John and Kathy. I refused to speak to either of them unless I had to. A few times, they attempted additional contact with the aim of us being friends, but I shut that down and told the two of them to rot in hell. The kids had a good relationship with their dad until a few years ago. John and Kathy were unable to have children together. I believe she had miscarriages and stillbirths, and my kids felt there was pressure on them to gather around them and love Kathy, so she'd still feel like a mother. But none of them had a close relationship with her, and they felt like their dad was manipulative about it. So they started going to his house less and gradually faded away. My youngest graduated in May and didn't invite John or Kathy. There were discussions about it, but ultimately, he decided he would prefer to focus on his achievement and not the drama. John attempted to get me to force my youngest's hand, and he tried to throw a pity party about their losses, and Kathy's love for the kids, and her losing the chance to be a mother. I blocked him after several text messages about this, Now he's shown up at my house, trying to make me feel bad for him and Kathy by talking about all their losses and asking me to help him make this better. What he really wants is for the kids to come back into his and Kathy's lives and for me to encourage them to love both of them, to let them, but especially Kathy, feel like she won't miss out on all the motherly experiences. He wanted me to treat her like their other mother and present a united front so that when weddings and babies come along, she'll be included and equal in all of it. I had no patience for his request, and even though he was already upset talking about the losses, I was not kind when I told him to get away from my house and from me. I told him I will never feel bad for him, and that his pity party and attempt to make me responsible for their happiness after the way he treated me was outrageous. I told him he caused all of this and he can fix it himself, but he doesn't deserve a single ounce of kindness or compassion from me after his actions during our marriage. He tried to argue, but I closed my front door, and he left after that. I was on good terms with John's sister after everything went down, but once she heard about our interaction at my house, she turned on me. She told me she understands me hating them, but that John has been broken up about all the losses they've endured, and I could have been a little kinder. She said I should want my kids to have John and Kathy in their lives, and that I should be able to see it would be better for them and future grandkids. I told her I owed the two of them nothing and did not wish for their happiness. She told me I had proven to be spiteful and that I hurt her brother even though the divorce happened more than a decade ago and it's truly in the past. I'm disappointed that relationship broke down, but I feel like it was possibly naive to think it would always survive what happened because John's her brother first. I do value her opinion, or did before this. I disagree with what she said, but I also feel like I shouldn't dismiss it without seeking others' opinions, since I've always valued what she says, even though I believe this is just a loyalty thing at the end of it all. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. He just wants you to fix his failings because he can't be bothered to do it himself. You're not his wife, so that's not your problem. And tell Sissy to buzz off. You don't owe either of them a damn thing. All of this, and I'll add, OP's kids are old enough and making their own decisions. Even if they were married and they were somehow on the same team, OP's kids have made a decision. They don't want to deal with their cheating dad and his wife. Most kids are just not going to feel warmth towards a woman who they feel contributed to breaking up their family. Most of my now adult friends have had a difficult time maintaining a long-term relationship with a parent who cheated. Add to this, the dad and his wife want to do the whole "we're all a big family" thing, which is totally hokey unless everyone is actually feeling it. My first thought: there are so many stories on this hub and others about how it goes poorly when step-parents try to force a close relationship, especially since a few years ago means OP's youngest kid was already in his teens, and I don't know a single teenager who responds well to being pressured into a relationship. Even without the cheating, the kids would have become alienated from John and Kathy through their own doing. If OP tried to stand up for him, they would likely be upset at her too. Probably John caused Kathy's uterine issues with his diseased junk. This is not your problem, OP. Not the a-hole. That's exactly what I was thinking. What a POS. How do men like this keep women? I feel like he kept Kathy because she's as bad as him. She knew he was married and didn't feel guilty about sleeping with him. So it's really no surprise someone like that would stay. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents I refuse to be their practice kid anymore? I, 18 male, am the oldest of my parents' 5 children. There's me, my brother 13 male, sister 12 female, sister 10 female, and brother 7 male. My parents never treated me that great, and the older I got, the worse it seemed to get. But I noticed as my siblings got older, it was different, and they were night and day different with me. I wasn't allowed to spend a lot of time with friends as a kid. My parents said there was no way they'd do all that, and I should be home. But my siblings, from age 5, could go to friends' houses, and from age 4 if the friend lived in our neighborhood. When I asked my parents about it, both times, they told me that I was their practice, and they didn't want all their kids to whine in their face about missing out. My parents had the rule with me that you eat everything off your plate, or it either gets saved for next time, or you don't get to leave the table. When I say everything, I mean clear your plate everything. So if I was full and left, say, 3-piece or something, I was forced to stay and finish, or they'd be taken aside and served to me next time. Not with my siblings. And when I asked my parents about that, they said they learned from me. The next thing was grades. My parents were always super mad and angry when I got less than A's. Even if it was a B and everyone in my class got a B because the test was especially hard, it didn't change my parents' stance. I was grounded for B's. I was forced to do extra chores for a month. I was left out of stuff. But my siblings could get C's and D's, and it didn't change anything. This was another thing I brought up to my parents, and by that point, they were tired of me asking why things were different. They told me I was their practice run, and they learned from things with me. And I know people learn from parenting as they go, but they learned with me and gave the benefits to my siblings. I saw none. They were never nicer or let up on me. They didn't apologize for being hard on me or for yelling at me almost all the time. Nothing like that happened, and there are multiple other ways they were different between me and my siblings. Expectations for chores were way higher with me, always. Birthday and Christmas gifts were way different, and noticeably so, to make both sides of the family question what they gave me, because it seemed so little compared to my younger siblings. And it wasn't that mine were more expensive, it was always the opposite. There were also really strict times set for me. I wasn't allowed out past 4 p.m. during summer, even in my teens. I wasn't allowed to attend certain birthday parties. Just so much stuff. My parents got annoyed over a year ago when my guidance counselor asked about any financial help I'd get with college and wanted to know if they had saved for me or anything. The way they reacted just ticked me off, and I know they're saving for my siblings, so that was when I knew I was done. I kept my head down for a year, and I left. I graduated last month, and I didn't let my parents come. My siblings weren't there either, but my parents expected tickets, and instead of claiming some for them, I got them for my grandparents instead. My parents were angry and confronted me about it, but I had already moved out of their house, and I live with my paternal grandparents right now. I told my parents I was done being their practice kid, and I refused to keep it up anymore. I said they can screw up with my siblings and learn to live with it, because I'm not here to be a punching bag while they get the best versions. My parents accused me of all kinds of things, called me all kinds of things, but I'm truly so done. Does that make me the a-hole, especially where my siblings are involved? That's why I'm asking here. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You're a kid, and you've been scapegoated by your parents for a long time. I can't imagine how much it would hurt to have such frequent reminders that your parents suck. You reached a breaking point, and breaking points are rarely graceful or pretty. Focus on you, get yourself in a good headspace and work on your future. Find supports outside your family and live your best life. I'm rooting for you. Nope, not the a-hole, and it's good you moved out of that toxic environment. I truly don't understand why they didn't eventually let up on you and tell you something positive. Certainly not fair, and in my opinion, mentally abusive. Hope your grandparents are doing right by you and that you get yourself on firm footing, setting up your future. My grandparents are doing everything they can to support me. The fact they were always there to advocate for me means a lot. Not the a-hole. I get being the practice kid, or in my case, the guinea pig as my dad liked to say, but once they realize one thing isn't working and they need to adjust, that means they need to adjust with you. Also not continue down the same path with you and a different one for your siblings. I'm glad you have somewhere else to live. What do your grandparents think of the situation? My grandparents are glad I'm away from my parents. Neither set of grandparents ever believed I deserved the way I was treated, and they all think my parents are awful for being so hard on me and blatantly treating me as less than. It was the cause of several fights when I was a kid. Next story. Am I the a-hole for ranting via email to my dad about his wife not being my angel or savior? My mom died when I, 18 male, was a kid. My dad remarried 3 years after her death. He was weird about his wife, Beth, always. He'd call her our angel and savior. He talked about her like we both fell in love with her and both chose her. Before they had kids together, he called her the best mom he ever knew, and the best wife. I never called this woman my mom, or even my stepmom. The whole thing bugged me, so Beth never left being Dad's wife in my brain. She loved hearing Dad say it, and she always had this negative energy when I didn't say those things too. There were times Beth tried to force hugs on me when I had stayed silent about what Dad was saying, or if I expressed anything against the use of our. She forced hugs on me in general too, but it was worse when I didn't agree with my dad. My dad never noticed. He was so cocky talking for the two of us that he never even realized I didn't speak up to agree, or that I never said those things. Beth did try to be those things, and she really tried hard to earn the mom title from me. She told me that she would never stop, ever. That she knew she could make me love her and wear me down eventually. I don't think she was evil about it or even trying to be malicious. I think in her way, she thought she was being extra kind and loving. But I hated it. The one time she really annoyed me by saying it, I told her she would never be as good as my mom in my eyes, so she should stop trying. She never told Dad, but she was upset, and I never apologized. I just stayed mad that she kept trying. Anyway, back to my point. My dad talked to me before graduation about what I'd say about Beth, and he told me he had written something that he'd like me to say. I told him I knew what I'd say and didn't need anyone's help. Dad was like, cool. And his response made me think even then that he expected me to gush about Beth, but I didn't mention her at all. Instead, after briefly thanking Dad, I gushed about Mom, and I talked about my love for her and the amazing mom she had been. Everyone but my dad and Beth were like, oh, she'd be so proud, and that's lovely. My dad was pissed, and Beth looked like she was trying not to sob from heartbreak. She actually did break down and leave for an hour, and came back to talk of Mom, which made her quiet the rest of the party. Afterward, my dad left me like 20 voice messages about my lack of praising Beth, and how she deserved way better, and why did I tell him I had my thanks for her written already? I never said that. Never. That was how he took what I said. But I didn't want to call Dad and be accused of being cruel to Beth for saying the things I knew I would where she could hear. So I ranted via email about how Beth's not my angel or savior, and how that was all Dad's BS and that I never ever loved or chose Beth. I said she didn't better my life. She wasn't better than my mom, that I would choose being alone over Beth. I then told Dad he never had any right to speak for me like that, and screw him for that too. And I told him his words about her being the best mom ever before she even was one. Felt like he was crapping on Mom. I must have written like 4,000 words before I finished. My dad wasn't the only person to read it. Beth saw and read it too. This enraged Dad, and he demanded I apologize to Beth and make it up to her. But I haven't, and I don't see it happening either. My dad realizes this too, because he asked when I became such a bastard and said I wasn't raised to be an a-hole. I feel like maybe I am an a-hole for how I have refused to accept Beth, and because I didn't even thank her at my graduation. I'm not sure I care really, but I want to hear the judgment of people who don't know us and just see the situation here. Of course, I can't write everything from the time I met her to now, because that'd take forever. But I hope this is enough info to decide. Am I the a-hole? That she knew she could make me love her and wear me down eventually. Ouch, that's normally a line used by abusers, not the a-hole. It always bothered me. That's one way I knew it wasn't all my dad, and she was equally as bad in wanting that. There is so much to unpack there. It really irritates me when people, mostly the parents, refuse to accept that there is a lot of room between being completely uninvolved with stepkids and trying to replace their parent. I wish both of them would have realized she could have been a trusted, valued, and even loved member of your family without trying to replace your mom. The cool thing about love is it's infinite. It's not like loving your mom left less room in your heart for other trusted adults. You should have been taught that it's okay to love both, and not disrespect to your mom to welcome Beth into your heart, nor disrespectful to Beth to continue talking about and loving or honoring your mom. All of that was on the adults in your life to get right. I'm sorry that they didn't. The thing is, a part of me always knew it wasn't outright disrespectful to Mom. But the way Dad talked it very much felt like Beth was going to be seen and treated as the better version of Mom. So any fondness I might have developed never had room to grow, because I never wanted it to be assumed Beth was better. It got to a point where I didn't want to like or even care about Beth even a little. Next story. Would I be the a-hole if I reject naming my baby after my fiancé's dying sister? I'm 30 female, pregnant with our first. My fiancé, 31 male, and I have been planning to get married for a while now and settled on next year. The reason for this is very sad, and I'm not blaming her at all for this, but his sister has cancer. Every time we planned for something, she would get sicker, and we put the plans on hold. We decided on next year because then we'll be together 10 years, and thought it would be cute to do it on our anniversary. His sister also seemed to start getting better, and we were so happy. But as it turns out, she's not getting better, and we got the surprise of a lifetime getting the news that we're pregnant. My fiancé was so excited he told his parents. They live with his sister in another country. We found out before we got the news about how bad things are going for her. But since we found out, his mother, and him as well, have been dropping hints that we name the baby after his sister. They've already given me some options if it's a boy or a girl. Luckily, not naming the child her name directly, but they suggest variations of it. And I don't want to. I haven't liked a single name they've proposed. I don't want to be the witch now and say, no, go screw yourself, while everyone is waiting for her to pass, but I also want this to stop. We don't even know the gender yet, and I don't want my child to be a reminder of an aunt they'll never meet if she passes before my due date. So, would I be the a-hole if I don't name my baby after her? And with that, tell them now while they're grieving? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Kids shouldn't be born with jobs or burdens. Mother-in-law, I appreciate the input, but we are focused on bringing a healthy baby into the world. We'll decide on a name when the time is right for us. You don't need to tell her now or ever that you don't want to use sister-in-law's name or any variation of it. Mother-in-law can find out along with everyone else once you finalize the documentation. Now you have to hope that fiancé doesn't buckle under the pressure. Ugh, thanks, I love that message. If a message of hers pops up again today, I'm copy and pasting. If you've ever met someone who was named after a dead relative, you may have noticed how it permeates their existence. The kid or the parent will often say upon, or soon after meeting them, X was my uncle's name, or we named him after my brother who died young. It's quite sad. That's also why this is so wild for me. My fiancé was named after a dead uncle that he never met, and he changed it when he turned 18 because he hated it and everyone knew that. And now he wants to do this to his own child. I understand the grief, but I wish he'll just relax. Baby isn't here for a while. No a-holes here. These folks are anticipating a painful loss and are trying to find ways to cope. I personally find the gesture beautiful, but it's not my kid. At the same time, you both have to like the names. It can't just be one of you. Would you concede to a middle name for the child after the aunt, or some other variation? That'd be a good compromise. I think everyone should consider something like that. I'll be open to middle name, but I'm afraid his mother would keep naming the child that and not respecting the first name. At that point, that's not fair to you at all. I think they're kind of blinded by grief right now, but that's not an excuse to try to force your will on others. It's a terrible situation, I'm sure, and I'm sorry for everyone involved. Gently push back and keep firm in the middle name. They'll hopefully come around when things settle. If mom changes the name once the child is born, and is a girl, you need to enlist hubby to correct her and put a stop to it. I'll definitely try. It's a little bit difficult at the moment with everything. But I do hope the sister is alive once the baby gets here. I know she'll also be against it. She named her kids the craziest of names going against the family name thing. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my brother's girlfriend be in our wedding family photo? I, 28 male, recently got married. Everything went well overall, but there was a bit of drama involving my brother, 26 male, and his current girlfriend, 22. Basically, my brother has a new girlfriend like every month. I'm not exaggerating. He has never had a relationship that lasted longer than 2 to 3 months, and we've all just kind of gotten used to it. It's kind of a family joke, actually. So when it came time to take our official family wedding photos, I pulled him aside and politely asked if his girlfriend could sit out of that specific photo. They had been together for 2 months. We included her in the casual shots, but for the formal family portrait that's going to be framed and hung in our home, I just didn't want to include someone who we probably won't even see again in a month in our family picture that will stay forever. He got really upset and said I was being disrespectful to him and his relationship. He said I'm acting like his relationships don't matter. My dad came and convinced him for a moment to take the photo without her, but they left the wedding early after taking the photo without her. Now he's barely talking to any of us. Worst thing is, my mom is on his side and said I should have included her, and that I can't know if their relationship is going to last or not. She said that once my wife and I were only 2 months into dating, and look where we are now. Now both my brother and my mom are mad at me. I don't feel like I did anything wrong. I have nothing against her personally. She seems nice, but I know my brother. I don't think he takes relationships seriously. He had more girlfriends last year than I've had in my lifetime, LOL. Not the a-hole. If I were the girlfriend, I would have happily not be in those pictures. That would have been too awkward. I would have insisted I not be in the photo. I went to a family wedding with my boyfriend of a year. I stayed away from the family photos. They insisted I was in them, but I didn't want to be. It worked out because we're married now, but we weren't together long enough for me to feel comfortable in family photos. That photo hangs in his mom's living room and his brother's girlfriend is in the picture. She's been out of the picture for 7 years. Not the a-hole. I've told this story a few times on Reddit, but when I was 20, I had been barely dating a guy for a month. We had been friends a bit before that, and he was my first real boyfriend, so even though it was too soon, I went as his date for his dad's wedding. His whole family took a shine to me over those 2 days and refused to take the big group family photo without me. Like I was standing back saying no and they were all chanting at me to get in the photo, so I eventually relented. Dead center next to my then boyfriend who was right next to his dad, the groom. We broke up horrendously dramatically a few months later. Turns out he has an issue with being truthful about anything. Anyhow, a few years later, I heard through the grapevine they put a sticker of our college mascot over my face on the framed pictures they had in their house lol. Do not get in the family photos until you are certain marriage is going to happen. Am I the a-hole for letting my ex-boyfriend dump me when he thought I had massive debt? I have been keeping an Excel workbook for years that I use to organize my personal finances. Every month, it shows the total expenses, total paid, and total remaining. It's not only helpful for budgeting and remembering when stuff is due, but it also removed a ton of anxiety I had around money and the nightmares I used to have that I would forget to pay something important. I used to have panic attacks, but they were cured by Excel. Every month, I put about half the money I make into savings, IRA, HSA, vacation savings, quarterly tax savings, and emergency fund. My only debt is about $500 of a surprise $1,500 vet bill and my car loan, which has a payment of $200 per month and will be paid off next year. I could pay off the car and vet bills right now, but having an emergency cushion that could cover all my bills for 3 to 5 months makes me feel safe. I give myself a weekly allowance of $150 that I can spend however I want. Dates, movies, going out with friends, etc. Since my ex and I were becoming a little more serious after 6 months, we had a discussion where we decided that if things progressed, our finances would be separated, and if we moved in together, we would both pay half of all expenses. This would save us both a lot of money monthly. Well, he used my laptop where I keep the Excel document minimized. He accidentally brought it up, and here is where the conflict began. I put everything on my credit card every month. I really want to be able to travel, and getting mile rewards is the only way I can justify the expensive flights to the places I really want to explore. I put everything, rent, groceries, gas, utilities, even my quarterly taxes on it. Last year, I was even able to redeem a ticket for a friend to go with me to France. I covered all the flights as well as half the Airbnb. I can't put the car payment or vet bill on the card, but everything else goes on my miles card, which I then pay off a couple of days after paying my bills, when the balance settles. I put the amount that would generally equal my credit card balance after paying bills in a spreadsheet as well, mainly as a reminder to pay the balance because I'm paranoid that I'll forget to pay it 1 month. Remember, this is a therapeutic spreadsheet. However, he saw all my expenses laid out and the total at the bottom and thought my expenses were nearly double what they are, since the total includes the credit card payment. I guess he also assumed that the credit card payment was the monthly minimum or something, which would have made the balance insane. He also noted that I had Macy's, VS Secret, and Best Buy lines in the spreadsheet and assumed I had maxed out retail cards. Although the amount to pay was at zero, I just leave them to remind me when the due date is, in case I use them to get something discounted. So he stewed on it for a few days and then sat me down, said he had been thinking about what he found, and told me that he couldn't stay with me if I was going to be irresponsible, and that if I didn't start calling every credit card I had right then in front of him to cancel and shred the cards in front of him, then he would break up with me. He kept talking over me about it. I tried to tell him about my savings and the fact that my actual debt was less than $4,000. He didn't believe me, called me a liar, and said he couldn't trust me, so he dumped me. I cried with some friends who were shocked, since I have sat down with several of them who have asked to help set up a similar system of their own to help pay down debt and start saving. I guess the truth got back to him. He was mad that I let him break up with me. Even though he makes more than me, I am much better off than him apparently, and he is really upset, since if we had moved in together, I would have been completely capable of covering my half, and he would have liked that I had a pretty large chunk in savings. I had also told him I would get us both tickets to Italy for our 1-year anniversary. I honestly don't know if I am the a-hole or not. I could have explained the situation more clearly and calmly, and been a little more forthcoming and transparent with my finances from the start. However, the moment I was confronted, I felt completely blindsided. I felt like my privacy had been violated, and I felt that receiving an ultimatum without even hearing me out was a deal breaker for me. But now my friends are expressing that I may be passing up a nice guy over a misunderstanding, and that if his assumptions were correct, he would have been right. I feel like I don't want to spend time with someone who would talk to me that way, but maybe I should work a little harder to make it work? Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, and you dodged a real bullet. You can't build a life with someone whose first instinct is to accuse you and dump you. You told him the truth. He refused to believe you. Do you realize how messed up that is? If my husband found something like this and misunderstood, he wouldn't even dream of doing this. He would simply want to discuss it with me. His reaction tells you everything you need to know about him. He's just mad now because you could be paying half the bills, and he could be saving more money. Don't even think about going back to this guy. You told him the truth. He refused to believe you. Do you realize how messed up that is? Not to mention just stupid, like he wholeheartedly believed the spreadsheet she created, but not her explanation of how it was set up and works? You saved yourself from a partner who cannot handle adult discussions and may leave you at the drop of a hat. He also doesn't have personal introspection or accountability. He has no clue about money management either. I think part of the reason he is so angry is because if we moved in and I paid half of everything, it would have cut his own bills by almost half. I had also said that when we hit the 1-year anniversary, I would get us tickets to Italy. He's always wanted to go, as well as pay half of a reasonable Airbnb. I don't think he has a lot of debt. I know that he has a truck payment that is pretty high every month, but he also spends every dime he has. He will have a pension when he retires, but no real savings. He's very proud that he doesn't have any credit cards. I've tried to talk to him about using them responsibly to build credit and get rewards, but that's an area he would get really aggressive about and say that no one can just pay off their balance every month. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not skipping a work trip because my husband is recovering from a hair transplant? My husband flew overseas for a hair transplant. We have 2 children under 7. I work full-time in a stressful corporate role. He never plans or researches in advance. I am supposed to go on a work trip for 2 days to a 2-day work planning retreat. It is important exposure. He will be post-op for 3 days by the time I leave. Last night, he texted that he needed me to cancel my trip because he is recovering from surgery, to put him first, and I'm going to be beyond mad if you do this to me and do not put me first the one time I am asking, and that if I go, he won't take the kids to school. His head may be sore and bald, but should not impede a pickup and drop off. My trip has been planned for about 6 months. His main gripe is that he will be seen so close to surgery. He did not need to choose this date, and up until yesterday, this was the plan. He told me my trip is stupid. I put everyone first, but I don't think I need to stay home and miss something so important for this. And I also think it is selfish to be saying this to me. I am always impacted by his last-minute changes and impulses. I am supportive of doing something that makes him feel better about himself, but why should I miss this last minute? Am I being selfish, or is he being selfish? He's being selfish as heck. For trying to guilt you over a hair transplant he planned poorly. Go on your trip, he'll survive. He is manipulating you to do what he wants. Tell him to either cancel his operation and be a grown man, or go through the surgery and be a responsible adult and do what he needs to do for his family. Either way, tell him to grow up. Concentrate on your career. You'll need the income later. Not the a-hole. He is not bedridden. He is not bleeding out. He is not even recovering from something you agreed to or planned around. He literally chose to book a cosmetic surgery without coordinating with you during a time when he has actual parenting duties. And now he's holding your career hostage because what? He's embarrassed to go outside with a healing scalp? This man is not asking for support. He's demanding sacrifice. And the second you push back, he threatens to not take care of his own kids. That's not about being post-op. That's about control. And if you keep letting him do this, it's never going to stop. You deserve a partner who respects your time, your job, your life. Go on the trip. Let him sit with his choices and his ice pack. If he could fly home from overseas, he's fine. My plane back from Turkey was about 50% full of hair transplant trippers. They all seem to have managed the flight home okay. Next story. Am I the a-hole for abandoning my so-called family after discovering the truth? I'm a 32-year-old man, and I've been married since I was 20. My wife and I have a son who's 9 now. She's the same age as me. Lately, I found out that my wife has been cheating on me. I caught her red-handed. I won't go into the details, but I had suspected it for a while. She was just very good at hiding it and lying. We decided to stay together for our son, and we're halfway trying to work things out. During that time, I was living in a hotel. One night I ran into her best friend, someone who's known for sleeping around, and we ended up drinking and hanging out. She stayed over at my hotel room, but nothing happened. She did try to kiss me, but I couldn't go through with it. The next morning, my wife showed up unexpectedly. We ended up having a huge fight. There was a lot of yelling. The police got called, and I got kicked out of the hotel. In the middle of the fight, she shouted that our son wasn't even mine. At first, I thought she was just trying to hurt me, but I couldn't shake it. So I got a DNA test. She wasn't lying. What made it worse was learning that 2 years ago, the real father had threatened to take her to court unless she let him see the kid. Since then, she's been taking our son to see his biological dad once a month, and I had no idea. What hurt most was that my son knew this whole time and never told me. That night, I packed up and left. I haven't spoken to either of them in over 6 months. Edit. To clear things up, yes, it's been 6 months since I left. For those worried, I'm not going to do anything reckless. I appreciate the concern. Honestly, the heartbreak from my son hit harder than anything my wife did. I always expected she might betray me, but not him. Him keeping that secret from me broke something inside me. It's hard to believe anything anyone says anymore. I don't think I'll ever fully trust people again. Since then, life's been rough. I quit my job when it all happened. I've been arrested twice for public intoxication. Now, I'm living in my car, trying to get by with DoorDash and Instacart. Money's tight. I'm hoping I can afford a hotel room soon, just to have a bed again. As for my son, he seems okay from what I can tell on Facebook. I don't think my wife got into a relationship with the bio dad, but it looks like our son is spending a lot of time with him now. As for me, I'm just lost. That's the truth. Now for the top comments, not the a-hole, and go full-on nuclear with a divorce because you should have filed for a divorce when you caught her, instead of staying married to a cheater. Expose her to everyone she knows, and sue the real dad for knowingly letting you raise his kid. Depending where OP is, there are jurisdictions which allow you to sue for paternity fraud if she knew the kid wasn't his, but convinced him into believing it is. That's easy. The OP said that his soon-to-be ex-wife took the kid to see his real dad, so that answers your question. Life hasn't been easy since then. I obviously quit my job when it happened. Have you looked into assistance for someone in your situation? I mean shelters and such, as well as financial help? The kid broke my heart more than she did. Genuinely, I know he's 9 and should know at least in part of right and wrong. However, it sounds like he's been told that it's a secret and he's not allowed to tell you. Probably with a threat of punishment of some sort that he really doesn't want to happen. That's not his fault. That's the fault of his mom. I know it hurts that he didn't tell you anything in the past 2 years, but know that if threatened, kids will keep things from people the best they can for as long as is necessary. Speaking from experience, it takes a lot to speak against the one who made the threat, and it's terrifying to do so. If he wasn't threatened, then I'm really sorry he went along with it. He may have made a promise to his mom to not say anything, but either way, it's painful. I'm sorry you're going through this. I would definitely look into therapy when you're able, and support groups can be helpful too. Take care of yourself. After making this post, I think I will get back in touch with him soon somehow. I don't believe he's being threatened, but apparently people do all kinds of things I didn't expect. As for me, I prefer my car and privacy over shelters and the occasional hotel. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my ex-mother-in-law that I have a full right to move on? I, 36 male, was married to my ex-wife Sarah, then 30 female, for 4 years. We share a son called Jerry, then 2 male. Approximately 6 years ago, she ran away with Jerry. We were going through contentious divorce proceedings, and she had filed for 100% full custody. When she realized I was also filing for 50-50 custody, she completely disappeared along with Jerry. She was supposed to drop him off one weekend evening, and she just didn't. 24 hours later, after she didn't show up, I filed a missing persons report. Because we had a custody order in place and she, presumably, crossed state lines in violation of it, she was charged with a felony. However, and this is where it's the weirdest part, it's as if she has completely disappeared without any trace. The police and the FBI have been actively searching for the past 5 years, but there were absolutely zero leads whatsoever. The cops declared it a cold case, even though they haven't stopped investigating. According to laws of our jurisdiction, after a year, thus 7 years since the event, both of them would be declared legally dead. I've been living my life in limbo. I don't know whether my son is alive or dead. He'd be 8 next week. I miss him so freaking much. He was the light of my life. However, I realized I couldn't live like this forever. I started dating again and have gotten to a stable and healthy relationship with my current girlfriend. She knows everything. However, my ex-mother-in-law found out. She had been very supportive and helpful in my search. She still holds out hope that her daughter and grandson are alive and will come back, and told me that I'm betraying their memory. I told her I have a right to move on. Am I the a-hole? Dude, there are a myriad of issues bigger than you dating. Are you okay? I cannot imagine my ex disappearing with our children, then never seeing them again. To address the dating thing, your mother-in-law is a moron. You're supposed to spend the remainder of your life alone because she thinks it would betray their memory? No, dude. Live your life and try to find some happiness. You've lived in this nightmare long enough. I'd create social media account and post birthday wishes, Merry Christmas, etc. So when he returns, he'll know you never forgot about him. Keep a journal or create an email and send emails about him so you can give him the email to read when he returns. I'm so sorry the hell you're going through. Just because you are finally moving on doesn't mean you've given up looking or thinking about your little boy. Not the a-hole. I wish you all the best and pray one day your son returns. Not the a-hole, but I call BS on the ex-mother-in-law not knowing where her daughter and grandson is. Get an aged photo of your son created, and then pay for an ad on Facebook and YouTube, and post both Sarah's and Jerry's updated photos in the vids. If they are out there, the ads will reach the people they know. Next, for the ex-mother-in-law, what has been her traveling history since the duo went missing? Any trips? Or do her friends go on periodic trips? If mother-in-law was involved, then either a family member or close friend helped. Any other female relatives or a close female friend? I say this one, since me and my sister can use each other's IDs and no one would notice. Same with an old BFF from high school. Anyone having issues with stolen identities? Also, invest in a private investigator and have them check mother-in-law's finances and see if any random payments are going out. Yeah, I'm going to say she's taking an opportunity to make you feel bad because she can, but I also think she knows where they are.